Welcome to Saving the Investor with certified financial planner, investment advisor, and insurance professional Alfie Townsend, president of Advantage Retirement Group.
Good morning, Southwest Florida. You're listening to Saving the Investor radio show. I am Alfie Townsend, Southwest Florida certified financial planner professional. I am here with Pastor John Antonucci, and we have a special guest today, Jonas Weatherby. He is an estate attorney, has a firm in Naples and here in Fort Myers. So we are going to really ask a whole lot of questions that you're going to want to listen to and probably take some notes. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Southwest Florida. Great to be with you in studio today. You know, Jonas and Alfie are going to be diving into a very important topic today, estate planning. And we're going to talk about something very truly special, one of the greatest gifts that you can give your loved ones, an estate plan. It's a topic that many people avoid, but in reality is that estate planning isn't just for the wealthy. It's for anyone who wants to ensure their wishes and honor their family is protected when it matters most. So if you're looking to protect your assets, ensure a smooth transition for your loved ones, today's show is packed with information you don't want to miss. And before we jump into all that, let me remind you can take the first step towards securing a legacy by requesting our estate planning guide. All you have to do is text the word estate to 239-747-1077. Listen, if you don't text, you can pick up the phone, call the operator, tell them I want to take advantage of Alfie's estate planning guide, 239-747-1077. A complimentary copy awaits you today, and it's great to be in studio with you, Alfie, and Jonas.
Thank you, John. And Jonas, you have been an attorney for 17 years, I believe. I'll let you talk a little bit about yourself. But there's a whole lot of problems out there with estate plans that I see as a certified financial planner professional. And I want you to talk about really the basics of an estate plan. But to introduce yourself, though.
Sure. I'm Jonas Weatherby, like you guys just said, practice in the area of estate planning and estate and trust administration. I always tell clients I'm a tax attorney by background. I have an LLM in tax, which is an advanced tax degree on top of my Juris Doctorate. So I'm really a tax attorney, but I really focus in our firm as a boutique. All we do is estate planning. So love what I do. Couldn't ask for a better place to do it in the country. We all love being down here in beautiful Southwest Florida.
Absolutely.
So it's and what I kind of tell people, having an office in Naples and Fort Myers and being down here is, it's the best place to do estate planning. Those people that come down here and retire and they've put off that the plan, and they get down here and go, Jonas, you know what? I've been meaning to do this for a long time. Yeah. It's time to act. And the reality of it is it's always time to act in this area. So thank you for having me again. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So what are when we talk about an estate plan, what's the basic estate plan that you need? Now, I know you have different levels, and I will say you are my estate planning attorney, but there's different levels of estate planning.
Sure.
But there's some basic, what does everybody need regardless of what their net worth is?
Sure. So there's really what I call the foundational estate plan. So there's your foundational plan, and there's your advanced estate tax planning plan, and that depends on really your net worth. So everybody needs a foundational plan. That would require a last will and testament, a durable general power of attorney, your healthcare directives, your living will, healthcare surrogate, and even in that foundational planning, a lot of times that requires a revocable trust, a trust that can be amended, but really a probate avoidance tool. So those 5 documents, kind of that menu, is what I always tell people is the foundational plan that everybody needs. So.
Yeah. So, and I can tell you by doing ours, I felt better after it's done. And that's the thing. It's like you got to do it, and you put it off, and then you finally. It's like that doctor's appointment. I hate my annual exam. I hate it. I dread it. But then once it's done, I say, oh, good, I'm good for another year before I have to go back. It's the same thing with estate planning. You have to really do it and drive yourself to go to that, go to the attorney and say, listen, this is what I need to do. And like John was saying, it's for your family, if nothing else. You're doing it because if you don't put a plan together, the government will.
Absolutely. And this is where, I have my clients I have them on. A lot of them are on what's called our legacy management program, which is they come and see me annually, right? Because if it's been 10 years or 15 years, or you did it up north 20 years ago, and now you're here and you haven't done it, well, we don't want to wait another 10 years, right? Things change, situation changes. You know, you have kids that have children. You have kids that get married and divorced. And you want to make sure those plans are always updated. So it's not one of those things that you just set it and forget it. It's an ongoing conversation, right? This is why you have that revocable trust, again, to be able to amend it whenever we need to amend it, right? So great conversation. I love this. I love this area of law. It's a relationship with the client, and I know my clients really, the majority of them are friends, right? They become friends. They become family friends because I sit with them, their kids, and sometimes even the grandkids, right? They get involved. So it's a fun area of law to practice, but it's something that everybody should hit.
Yeah. Well, what is the difference between, people hear about wills and trusts? I mean, is there an advantage of going with a trust over a will? What are the advantages or disadvantages to either one?
Sure. So the will and the trust really are synonymous. There's a trust is a will substitute a lot of times, what people will say. The benefit of the trust is it avoids probate. So if you just have a simple will and it says, everything that goes through my will goes to let's just say it goes to my wife and my kids. Right. You have to go through the probate process. And in my line, we always laugh at my firm, probate's a dirty word. We don't want to have to go through the probate court. To say it kindly is that it's not cost effective, right? So if I have to spend 6 to 9 months in court going through this process, which is usually what it takes, then I'm paying an attorney for 6 to 9 months, right? Nobody wants to pay an attorney for 6 to 9 months to do anything. So I was laughing with Alfie before this, and my best clients are the ones that they go, my parents didn't have a plan. They walk in and go, Jonas, we need a trust, right? We need to avoid this process, this probate process because
they went through it.
They went through it, right?
Yeah.
And so nobody wants to go through this process, right? So when you have death and grieving and you have money involved, it usually doesn't bring the best out of people. Right. And when you stretch that that process on for 9 months, there's a lot of time to get at each other's throats, kind of to an extent, with children, with second marriages, with the next wife, whatever that looks like. So we want to avoid that process. So
that's called
the trust is what avoids that.
The trust avoids that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the trust because everybody, a will, it does go through probate, but like you were saying, and I didn't really know that, you have to have a family member to be the
personal
executive personal representative of that will, but they have to live here in the state of Florida. So if you were from up north and you had your best friend or family member up north, it wouldn't really cut it here in Florida. So a lot of times people come in and they say, do I need to have my will checked or do I need to have my trust checked? Because I just did it up north, but you do.
Yeah, well, you're listening to Saving the Investor with certified financial planner Alfie Townsend. Alfie has over 40 years experience as a CFP, and he's a fiduciary, which means his responsibility is to you, not to any services or products that he offers here through the Advantage Retirement Group. And as you can see on this broadcast today, that he's concerned about your whole well-being, including your estate plan. And if you don't have a plan put together financially or a retirement plan, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Alfie in Fort Myers or Naples. He has 2 beautiful offices, and he does what's called a retirement simulator process. That is a deep dive into your current portfolio to see what's really going on. He's going to take your portfolio back 5 years and compare it to what his plan and strategy would be. He's going to make sure that you're allocated properly, diversified correctly, that you're not taking undue risk for the amount of return that you're getting each and every year. He's also going to expose all the hidden fees that could be eating up your returns. You owe it to yourself to sit down with him in Fort Myers or Naples. Listen, you have to be one of the first 9 callers right now. That's all he can handle per week with his team. Be one of the first 9 callers. Don't wait till the end of the broadcast. Pick up the phone right now. Text the word VISIT, V-I-S-I-T, to 239-747-1077. If you don't text, call the operator. Tell him I want to visit with Alfie Townsend in Fort Myers or Naples, 747-1077. Get an estate plan, get an income plan, get a strategy for your retirement so that you can get to retirement and that your money will outlive you. 239-747-1077. You also can go to savingtheinvestor.com. Again, that's savingtheinvestor.com, where you'll find a wealth of information about Alfie, his company, and all the products and services that he offers here through the Advantage Retirement Group. We're going to be right back with the attorney, so stay tuned. Don't go away. Welcome back to Saving the Investor with certified financial planner professional Alfie Townsend. We're in studio today with attorney Jonas Weatherby, and we're talking about estate plans and wills and all the things that you need to pass your finances down to your heirs. And if economic uncertainties have put your financial decisions on hold, you really need to grab a hold of Alfie's free toolkit that will help transform your worries of retirement into confidence. You know, inside Alfie's toolkit, you're going to find a wide range of materials, such as will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? The Social Security Decisions Guide, and will a recession actually rob your retirement savings? You owe it to yourself to pick up this free tool. It's complimentary. To get Alfie's toolkit today, simply text the word KIT, K-I-T, to 239-747-1077. Again, you can call the operator and ask for it, or text the word KIT to 239-747-1077.
Thank you, John. And we are in studio live with Jonas Weatherby. He is an estate attorney here in Fort Myers and Naples, has a great practice, and we just asked about the will and the trust. So the will, Jonas, just keep it simple. It goes through probate. Everybody should have a will. And again, you don't want your stuff to go through probate because it opens up really everything to anybody because they can see, right? It's public record.
Public records, yep.
Not private. So that's one of the reasons. And then a trust, again, a trust is going to be set up. And there's different types of trusts. I'm going to have Jonas talk a little bit more about that because a trust it could be a great tool for you, but there's revocable trust, there's irrevocable trust, and he'll explain the difference. But I think one of the reasons what we see mostly revocable trust is that it's going to bypass probate. It keeps it out of your neighbors, your nosy neighbors, finding out what you were worth.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of things going on with, but the difference between the main difference of revocable and irrevocable is protecting your assets from creditors.
Sure. So your revocable trust is established during your lifetime that you need to make sure you fund, right? So you can have this revocable trust, this will substitute, but if you don't fund it, then really you still have a will because the will is still going to go through the purview of the court. So you need to make sure if you do have a trust, and I see a lot of attorneys or a lot of clients that will come in to me that have done something before and set up a trust but haven't funded it, right?
Yeah.
So we've done nothing, right? And
So if it's not funded, explain what funding means.
Funding means, I'll just use property for an example. So you got, let's say you have a residence here and you have a residence up north. That property needs to be retitled in the name of your trust.
Yeah.
So, Jonas Weatherby, revocable trust, that needs to be titled into my trust. My property here in Naples, my property up north needs to be titled in the name of my trust. My brokerage account here with you needs to be titled in the name of the trust. And that's the way you avoid probate by making sure those assets are properly titled in that trust. Great vehicle. And again, it allows you to do things outside of the purview of the court. So it's private in nature. Nobody wants their affairs published in the court. I mean, that's not what you want, right? So it avoids that process. The benefit and the flexibility of a trust too is that the trust allows you to be really flexible in how you set them up. Wills require parameters that are set up by law that have to state certain things. So, your will, if you had a will done up north again, and you named your neighbor as the personal representative, you can't do that. If you have a trust set up and you want your neighbor to be the trustee, they can act in that capacity. So trusts are a lot more flexible too. The benefits of that revocable trust is when you do pass, and let's say you pass money on to either your spouse or your children, whatever that looks like, a lot of times it's set up to where that assets go into a trust for those beneficiaries' benefits, either your spouse or your children. And the reason for that is it's creditor protected and it's divorce protected, right? So if you're, Johnny, my son gets, an inheritance, I have it go into a trust for his benefit. And now this trust is irrevocable, like we just talked about. And that allows it to be protected from, if he gets married and then divorced, that's not a marital asset, right? That's what Florida law states. And so that inheritance that he has is never going to go to a divorcing spouse. Let's say he gets $3 million. If he gets divorced, she's not taking half of it.
I'm sure you run into a lot of issues with that, don't you?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Because Alfie, you talk about that, how that needs to really be pre-planned,
Yeah,
especially
you
in
got
a
to plan
second
it.
or third marriage.
Second and third marriage, yeah, you have a blended family, and you always want to take care. And I always say this, and we were talking at, on our TV show, we talked about it quite a bit of times too. That the spouse, I'm always. I was raised by my mom, my sister, and I'm always going to make sure the spouse is taken care of. Now, if it's a second marriage, I still want to make sure that she's taken care of, and the kids are going to be taken care of. So that's a tricky situation. But like you said, you have a marital trust that you can do when you have a second marriage.
Yep.
And they could be they could be the same age of his kids.
Sure.
A lot of times they're younger.
It happens.
Younger, you see it all the time. And so when that happens, a marital trust would be something that you could, where she could, had the income from that trust, and then the principal goes to the kids. So everybody's happy at that
Right.
point. And if she's real young, you can even explain what you do with one that's the same age as the kids.
Sure. So the same as the kids, a lot of times you'll want to maybe even bifurcate some of those assets. So let's just say, I'm worth $10 million, and I'm going to say, I want to be able to provide for my wife, but I want some money to go to my kids. Because if I set up this marital trust and I have it all go into my wife's trust, say she gets all the income and principal for her lifetime, right? And then at the end of the day, whatever's left goes to my kids. But if she's the same age as my kids might never see that money.
That's right.
So what you'll want to do is you'll want to split that up and say, okay, I'm going to have maybe $5 million go to my kids, and I've got 2 kids, so 2.5 goes to them in their own separate trust, and then I have $5 million go into this marital trust for my wife. And you can choose what assets you want. You can say, you know what, I'm going to put the residence in this marital trust, and that way, it's a large one, and if she decides to downsize, then she actually has more liquid assets to invest and get, return on that. So there's a lot of flexibility involved in the trust, but you want to make sure that you're obviously preserving those relationships with your wife and your children, and it requires, significant planning to do that.
A lot of planning, and that's the same thing. We do a lot of planning here at the Advanced Retirement Group, and we do that with their finances, how to make sure that there's money for the spouse on something like that, and what to pass on. We might do a life insurance where the life insurance gets paid to the spouse, and then the assets gets paid to the kids. So there's a lot of different ways, but that's why we work with the estate planning attorney like you, Jonas, that we can work together as a certified financial planner professional. Our job is to have, I always say I'm a quarterback when you're that, because I have to know about estate taxes. I have to know about finances. I have to know about just different really high-end planning.
Absolutely.
altogether. But you have a team around you.
Sure.
And your team, one of our team members that we really count on to get our clients to and through retirement. But there's, just from you talking about that, there's a lot of complex situations that you have to go through without ticking off the family.
Just no question. And that's where I'll say the good financial planners are the ones that talk about estate planning, right? It's just not an investment. It's a holistic plan. I know that's word used a lot, but the ones like yourself, Alfie, that go through that process and make sure, hey, do you have a will in place? Where was it done? Was it done up north? Well, you might need to update that, right? So the best financial planners are the ones that really have the team behind it, right? It's a team.
Right.
It really is a team. I mean, the client runs the team, and we all work for that client, right? And so we work together, though. We got to make sure we're all working the same direction, and it's fun to work with professionals that work that same direction.
Well, it's good to have creativity too,
Sure,
because
sure.
if you don't know what these trusts are supposed to do, it's a whole different ball game, because there's trust, like we just talked. What's the difference about a trust? But you got a irrevocable life insurance trust to keep your everybody says life insurance isn't tax. It could be one of your biggest tax. If you have a large estate, if you don't put that in an irrevocable life insurance trust, that is part of your estate. It could be taxed at 40%.
Sure, absolutely, and that's a very good point. I mean, you have these different types of irrevocable trusts, right? So I say the 4-letter words, the islets, the slats, the grats, the cruts, the grits, all these different 4-letter words that we like in planning. They're not bad words; they're great words in that advanced planning space. And so, any of these assets, all these assets are unique. So different assets require different types of planning. So the life insurance policy requires a irrevocable life insurance trust, right? And this avoids tax on that when you pass, right? So if you're taxable, if you're estate taxable, if there's a death benefit, let's just say of $1 million, if you're taxable, 40% of that,
400,000 you just wasted.
If it's a $10 million death benefit,
Yeah,
$4 million
$4
is
million
going
bucks.
to, we're writing a check to the IRS, right?
Yes,
So
and we're going to talk more about this.
Yeah, great information. You listen to Saving the Investor on 92.5 with Coach Alfie Townsend, and also you're here with Jonas, who is an estate attorney. And Alfie's book was in a high demand last week, and due to popular demand, Alfie's offering it again. A complimentary copy of his book awaits you. To claim your book, all you have to do is call the operator and ask for it, or text the word book, B-O-O-K, to 239-747-1077. You know, Alfie's book is a guide to a fulfilling retirement. You don't want to miss out on the valuable insights, including many, many stories about investors that he has helped save over his 40-year career as a certified financial planner professional. That's why he named this broadcast Saving the Investor, to save you from the schemes, the pitfalls, the traps of Wall Street. You want to get a hold of his book. It's packed with information that's going to get you to and through retirement. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Pick up the phone right now. Text the word book to 239-747-1077. You can call the operator, ask for the book, or text the word book to 239-747-1077. We're talking with state planning attorney Jonas, and we're going to be right back right after this break, so don't go away.
Good morning, Southwest Florida. You're listening to Saving the Investor radio show. I am Alfie Townsend, Southwest Florida certified financial planner professional. I am here with Pastor John Antonucci as my co-host. We do have a special guest today, Jonas Weatherby. He is an estate planning attorney here in Southwest Florida. Does a fantastic job. Matter of fact, he is my attorney, so I asked him if he could come on to the show, and we're going to talk about some of the questions and concerns that people have with estate planning. And just because you have an estate plan, is that the right one for you? That's the thing. So we're going to talk about that. You'll know that by the end of the show. So, again, welcome to the show, and welcome, John.
Yeah. Good morning, Southwest Florida. Great to be with you today. And we're talking about estate planning. And really, if you haven't had your estate plan updated, it's something you should really check in with every year, just like you do with Alfie, checking in to make sure that you're on course to your retirement strategy and plan. And Alfie has put together an estate planning guide that is a comprehensive resource that will walk you through everything you need to know, from wills and trusts to healthcare directives and tax strategies. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call for it. It's complimentary, 239-747-1077. You also can text the word estate, E-S-T-A-T-E, to 239-747-1077 to get your complimentary copy of the estate planning guide today. That's 239-747-1077. Call or text estate now and get your complimentary copy today.
Thank you, John. And Jonas, we were talking a little bit about different types of trust and things like that. There's so many out there, and I want to talk about the importance of power of attorney. Can you explain who needs a power of attorney, and really how does that work? Because it is you're giving someone a lot of freedom, and you got to be careful who you give that to. But explain who needs that and what it does.
So there's really two different types of powers of attorney. There's your financial power of attorney. A lot of times you'll hear it called a durable general power of attorney. And there's your medical power of attorney, which is your advanced directive for healthcare, which usually includes a living will, designation of healthcare surrogate, and a HIPAA waiver letter. So I'll start with the financial power of attorney. So the financial power of attorney is somebody that can make financial decisions for you while you're alive. So imagine obviously the reality of an estate planning is either you're going to lose capacity typically, or you're going to die. Right? Those are the two things that happen to you. So this is a very, very important document while you're alive. Okay, so it's somebody that can, you name somebody as your power of attorney, as your agent under that document that can pay your bills, file your tax returns. There's also other provisions in there that there's superpowers, what I call them, estate planning powers. So we go back to the trust, right? We're going back to that conversation of this. If we missed funding an asset, you can name somebody as that agent under your power of attorney that can help fund that asset because you don't have capacity now. Somebody else can step in and do that. Or we need to modify your trust. Now you've got a child that we need to maybe puts assets into trust, further trust for them, or there's a grandchild now we want to pass some stuff down to. It allows us to modify estate planning documents too. So there's the financial power of attorney, which again, very important. Just know though, with the financial power of attorney, that attorney, that power lapses at death. So you'll have clients that come in and say, hey, I'm my dad's power of attorney. He just passed, and they don't know that power's gone. They lose that power at the death. So that's your financial power of attorney.
And now also you got to, a lot of times people come in and they want that power of attorney on their parent, and it's too late because their health got real bad.
Right.
So someone has to be in sound mind.
Sure.
To be able to give that away.
Absolutely.
So you got to do this type of planning. When you're healthy, when you're sharp, you don't do this type of planning. The kids come in and say, we want to get a power of attorney for our mom because she
doesn't have capacity.
She
right
doesn't
now.
have capacity. That it doesn't work.
You
It's too
can't
late.
do that. So that power of attorney, and again your healthcare power of attorney, right? So
Yeah.
both of those. So your healthcare power of attorney is your advance directive for healthcare. So your living will. So you basically state, if I'm in a end-stage condition, vegetative state, or terminal condition, that I don't want to artificially be kept alive.
Yeah.
Right. So this living will declares what you want. Obviously, doctors have a take the oath to keep you alive, right? So unless your document says that, they're likely going to keep you alive, right? So I think of these things financially too. So you don't want to be sitting in a hospital in a position
Knowing there's no way you're going to get better.
You're not going to come out, and if you're you're worth $1 million and you come out of the hospital with a $700,000 bill. Now all of a sudden, you're writing a check to the hospital, and you've got $300,000 going to your kids, right? So again, very important document, that living will. The healthcare surrogate, obviously, you're going to want to name somebody to make medical decisions for you if you can. Typically a spouse first, and then the question is, who's next? Maybe it's your brother, maybe it's a child. You want to make sure that person, that capacity, is somebody that's not going to be sentimental in nature. They're going to say, I can't, I hate to say it this way, but pull the plug on dad. Well, this is what he wanted, right? So if your daughter can't do that, then it needs to be your son. Or if your son can't do that, then it needs to be your daughter. So you need to have somebody in that space that's going to make that decision.
It doesn't have to be a relative, though.
It does not have to be a relative. Absolutely not, right? So this is where it needs to be somebody that's going to do and act
your
upon
wishes.
your wishes are, right?
Yeah,
so
that's your wishes.
again, not somebody that's going to say, I can't do that. You want to have the conversation with that individual that you're going to name and let them know. And so a lot of times I'll have that conversation with them for the client. They'll say, I've named my sister as my, healthcare surrogate. Jonas, can you tell her what that entails? And so, yeah, sure. Let's get her on the phone. Get on the phone for 5-10 minutes. Talk through what that entails. And so if she feels comfortable doing that, most times they do if they're going to name them. But you want to have that conversation. I mean, the goal here is to make sure that we're not having any hiccups when we get in that capacity issue or at passing.
Well, like you said, the power of attorney is in effect while they're alive. Once they die, does that go over to the executor, or how does that play out?
That's correct.
Right after that.
Yeah, so that financial power of attorney would go over if there's assets that are in the estate. So if the trust hasn't been funded, it would go through the probate process, and those assets, those accounts that the financial power of attorney had access to, goes away, and now that goes to the court, and the personal representative, that's what we call them in Florida, the executor, will be the one that controls that now.
So is that executor in an estate plan as well, or a living trust?
So the executor's in the will. Okay. So the trustee is the person that's inside of a trust that controls that. The executor, personal representative, is the one that handles the last will and testament that goes in front of the court. So there's certain parameters that are required to be able to serve even in that capacity as the personal representative or the executor in Florida. So you have to be either a relative or a Florida resident to serve in that capacity. So you want to make sure that you don't name, your neighbor up north, your attorney up north as that personal representative or that executor, because they can't serve in that capacity. And the court's going to get involved and decide who that is, right? Yeah. So then it goes to a place where it might not be where the court says, we're going to name your wife, and you go, I didn't want her there. Or we're going to name your child, your son, I didn't want my son there, right? So you want to make sure
planning
is very important.
Yeah, because a lot of people live here, and this is their residence, but yet they live half the year up north, and maybe they forget that they're tipping a scale to be a resident here,
right?
And they don't even think about this until it's too late.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, so you can tell there's a lot going on when it comes to putting an estate plan together for you. We do the finance side over here, but then we also partner with a real awesome attorney that knows what he's talking about. When we give referrals to from our clients, to say, hey, you need to see this person, we're putting our reputation on the line. So this is why I wanted Jonas to come and really talk to you and let you know that he knows what he's talking about. And there's, the more I listen to it, there's just a whole lot going on with estate planning.
Yeah.
It's not a cook, that's why you can, it was the one you could do online, a trust online, a wills online. That I thought was going to be the end of attorneys, but
Bob Shapiro. When he
Bob,
started that.
yeah, he started that, and it was
LegalZoom.
LegalZoom, and I don't even see him anymore. I don't know who bought him, but that probably went through so many lawsuits and everything because it wasn't funded right. So you can go cheap. A lot of times, you look at cheap, but it hurts you in the long run.
It does. It does.
It does. I think it does, and it's okay to pay a little extra for things if you're going to get the service for it, but you're getting it done right. So that's important.
Really important, and that's why Alfie is a certified financial planner professional with over 40 years experience and a fiduciary, which means his responsibility is to you, not the products and services that he offers here through the Advantage Retirement Group. That's why it's important to deal with somebody like this, because he's concerned about your whole life, not just about your finances, about your legacy. And he has an attorney that he has really aligned himself with that is a professional in this area, in the Naples area. And you can take advantage of just this wealth of knowledge, of experience that they're bringing to the table today that will enable you to not only get through retirement, but also after your will expires, as Alfie says, you'll be able to pass it on correctly, and you'll have the right plan in place that will not put the money into the government's coffers, but will put it into your heirs and those that you have designated in your retirement plan. So you want to sit down with Alfie. You want to get together with him in Fort Myers or Naples. You owe it to yourself to let him do a deep dive into your current portfolio and take a look at your estate plan. If you haven't done that already, you can meet with him in Fort Myers or Naples simply by texting the word VISIT, VISIT, to 239-747-1077. Look, if you don't text, I understand that. Pick up the phone, call the operator and say, I want to visit with Alfie Townsend. Make an appointment. Be one of the first 9 callers right now, because that's all his office can handle per week. Don't wait to the end of the broadcast. You owe it to yourself. Stop what you're doing right now. Pick up your smart device, text the word VISIT, or call the operator to 239-747-1077. Alfie's going to take a deep dive, look into your portfolio, and hey, he's a great guy, because if you're on the right course and everything's good, he's going to tell you you're fine. Stay the course. But if not, if he sees some areas that need to be addressed, he's going to make some recommendations that's not only going to get you to retirement if you're soon to be retired, but if you're already retired, it's going to get you through retirement, because you don't want to go back to work. Pick up the phone right now. Text the word VISIT, VISIT, to 239-747-1077. Let Alfie be a second pair of eyes. Let him be a second opinion. Even if you've had an advisor for many, many years, maybe your advisor's up north, Alfie lives here all year round, and he is Southwest Florida's premier financial planner, certified financial planner. 239-747-1077. Stay tuned. Don't go away. We're going to be right back right after this break. Welcome back to Saving the Investor with certified financial planner professional Alfie Townsend. Alfie's book was in high demand last week, and due to popular demand, Alfie is offering it again. You know what? A complimentary copy of his book awaits you. To claim your book, simply text the word book to 239-747-1077. Text the word book or call the operator. Say, I want Alfie's complimentary book that he's offering on the broadcast today, 239-747-1077. Alfie's book is your guide to a fulfilling retirement. You don't want to miss out on the valuable insights, including many, many stories about investors that he has helped save over the years. That's why he named this broadcast Saving the Investor, to save you from the pitfalls, the schemes, the traps of Wall Street. Pick up the phone right now. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Text the word book to 239-747-1077.
Thank you, John. And again, we have Jonas Weatherby. He is an estate attorney here in Southwest Florida, has a great, thriving practice, and he is also my attorney. And I wanted him on the show. And Jonas, we have a saying here at Advantage Retirement Group on the radio. We've been saying this for many years, but a lot of people come to us because they have outgrown their advisor. Because we show them things and they say, well, why didn't my advisor talk about that? Why didn't my advisor talk about taxes? Why didn't my advisor do Roth conversion? Why didn't, why? And I said, well, maybe you have outgrown your advisor. And I'm sure there's a lot of instances that they might have outgrown their attorney because they started with their attorney at when they didn't have a whole lot, but their net worth has grown.
Sure.
And a lot of these older attorneys, hate to say this, are not keeping up with what's new out there. And that's what, and I'll be honest with you, the listeners, that is, I really fired my attorney, but when I hired you, because he wasn't showing me the stuff that you were showing me. And and I just had a conversation with you. And I'm like, you know what, this makes sense to me, and it's the same thing. So if you think you might have outgrown your advisor or you might have outgrown your attorney, give us a call, 239-747-1077. That's 239-747-1077, and say, you know what, let me see if I have outgrown my. And it's your finances has increased. Since you really did your retirement plan, you're not really hearing from your attorney as much. A lot of attorneys, they write that will. I've been told, Jonas, that people's. I played golf with an attorney that they teamed me up with, and he said that his drawers are full of. He holds all the wills and everything of his clients because that's his retirement.
Right.
Because he wants stuff to go through probate.
Right.
And I heard that. I'm like, what the heck?
Right.
I'm serious.
That's a good business model for him, but it's a bad business model for the client. It really is. So there's these plans need to continually be touched. Right. You can outgrow your attorney in the sense of what you do. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm a tax attorney by background, but all I do is estate planning. So I like the complicated. The IRS and our laws give us some flexibility in terms of what we can use, right? I mean, I'm not going above and beyond what you can use, but there are different planning techniques that people just don't use. It's you'll get somebody that says, we're just going to do a simple will so we can have a probate, right? And if that's the case, then you're going to usually pay 3% of your assets to that individual, that attorney, the personal representative, however that's going to work, and go through that probate process, or hourly, right? So that's a good business model for the attorney, bad business model for the client. So there's when you do, like you said, when you did your plan 10, 15 years ago, things have changed. Your money's likely doubled. That where there's different techniques now that you think, wow, maybe I should set up a qualified personal residence trust. What is that? Why would I put my residence in this qualified personal residence trust? Well, so we can get that estate tax number decreased, or maybe have no estate tax, right? So our goals here are to make sure that and everybody walks in different, right? So if you have a business, there's a different planning technique. If you have real estate all over, there's a different planning technique. If you have brokerage accounts, there's different planning techniques. So there's different types of trusts, and there's different vehicles to use to really, what I say, use all the tools in my toolbox, right? I mean, that's what we want to do. I have these tools, so use them, right? And so is it easier for me to just go, all right, yes, you're just going to have a trust, sure, and be done? Yeah, that's easy. But this is why I get referred to people, is because I make sure that I would go through everything they have to make sure that there's a different way to address each of those assets.
Yeah, and we, I don't know about you. I like to ask this question. I go to 6 to 8 different advanced planning techniques throughout the year, different around the country. We're always learning.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not learning, you're dying. I say, if you're not growing, you're dying. And
Very
it's
true.
so I know we have continuous education,
Sure.
but where do you pick up some of these advanced techniques that other attorneys aren't doing around here, but you are doing?
Right. So there's continuing legal education that we always do, and then there's different conferences. There's a great conference that's in Orlando. It's called Heckerling, and it's really kind of everybody nationally comes there if you do estate planning. 3,000 people are there. It's attorneys, a lot of high-level tax planning, though. So we go to that conference every year, and for the last, probably 10 years.
Yeah.
And then, we're always reading, staying up on things. And so my partners at the firm and associates, we're all LLM and tax, right? So my other one's a CPA. So we're all tax attorneys, right? So we're always trying to find that right technique to use. So we sharpen each other, right? So we don't have any, young attorneys, lower level attorneys that don't know what they're doing, right? So we can, you know how it is, iron sharpens iron, right?
Sure,
So it's
yeah.
that iron sharpening each other. So we sharpen each other tremendously on that. So
No, that's important.
yeah, and so we continually send each other to different conferences. I've got another one that goes up to South Bend that handles an estate planning conference up there. So we want to come back with the right techniques, you know, the stay cutting edge, but still using those techniques that are not going to trigger, let's say, an IRS audit, right?
Yeah.
We want to make sure we're doing things the proper way, we're documenting things the proper way, and if we do it the proper way, the IRS goes, wow, these guys know what they're doing, and they go to the next one that doesn't.
That's
right.
right.
So it's a it's
So there are
fulfilling
some
to
times,
see.
yeah, there are some times that you would go back to a client and say, listen, what we did for you 5 years ago was awesome, but I'm going to show you something that's even that much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
And so that's exactly what we do here. You know, we'll show there's services that we weren't doing 5 years ago, and there's products that we didn't have 5 years ago that we have now. Hey, this has been a great show. John's going to talk a little bit, but I do want to thank you, Jonas.
Thank you.
Weatherby, for coming here. You're premier estate attorney here in Southwest Florida, and we're proud and happy to have you helping our clients.
Thank you.
Yeah, what an awesome conversation we had today. We hope you learned a lot of things and take advantage of the little nuggets that you were given today to help you get to and through retirement with your estate plan. And if you're ready to take control of your financial future and work with a fiduciary who has access to institutional investing, now is the perfect time to take the next step. Alfie and his team at Advantage Retirement Group are here to create a personalized financial blueprint designed specifically for you. You don't want to settle for generic advice. Get the level of expertise and access that you deserve. It's available to you right now. Simply call 239-747-1077. That's 239-747-1077, or text the word VISIT, V-I-S-I-T, to the same number, 239-747-1077, to set up your complimentary meeting with Alfie and his team. Don't wait. Your financial dream is within reach. Whether it's protecting your wealth, growing it, or ensuring it lasts through retirement, Alfie and his team are here to help you build that dream. Call or text today the word VISIT to 239-747-1077.
Well, thank you, John and Jonas. If anybody, wants their really will and trust review, just give us a call here, and I'll set you up with Jonas. You can meet at different offices. He has one in his main office is in Naples,
Yes.
so you can. It's a beautiful office. You can go there, and we have an office there also. So, but I love doing shows like this because it does allow people to see a different perspective of estate planning.
Sure.
So this is it's been a great morning this Saturday morning. I know you could be doing other things out there.
Sure.
But I'll be Pastor John and I will be playing golf pretty soon. Hopefully we will play better than we did last week.
Thanks for having me. I really
Well,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you for coming, and you're listening to Save the Investor radio show. If you've never really watched our TV show, it's on NBC2, and it's every Sunday at 11 o'clock, 11 to 11:30, and we get a lot of viewership on that show, and you can see what we're talking about here. We talk about on that TV show. And here, of course, on 92.5, we've been on 92.5 for well over 10 years now. I should start probably saying 12 years. We got Jake the Millennial helping us out. He is the producer of the show, so we are grateful to have him, helping us every Saturday morning. So I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Enjoy this great weather we're having. Until next week, be blessed.